Can you hear me now? I had it on mute. Okay, well, when Sam told me that I had first plenary on Tuesday morning, I thought, genius! Because nobody comes to the first plenary on Tuesday on the second day of the conference, do they? I thought I was sorted. Of course, it sounds funny. Of course, I was wrong. He didn't tell me that I was going to be following Chok Kim Dao. I mean, come on, talk about pressure. How do you follow these guys? I had a fabulous night, and I didn't realise how lucrative it was going to be when I took lots and lots of photos of certain individuals dancing. And I made quite a bit of money not showing those photographs. They'll be available on El Mercado Libre. You can pay with PayPal. I accept all major credit cards. No, the idea for today then is, well, first of all, that we are with Pearson. Some of you know me. I've met some of you before. Some of you maybe not. My name is Max. I come from London. I have taught for many years up the road in Externado, but have been for recent years working with Pearson here in Bogota and on the coast. Last year in Cali, this year also in Medellin. So I travel quite extensively. My full name is Mark, but for various reasons it was changed to Max about 9 years ago. Because I worked in a super team of teachers, a super team of international teachers, not just foreign teachers, but teachers from all around the region. And we'd have students come to the teachers' lounge and ask for a professor Mark. And there were 3 of us. So we'd say, which Mark do you want? And they would say, well, the tall one. And we're all reasonably the same height. They'd say, well, the foreign one. Well, I said, I'm from the UK, I'm from England rather. A friend of mine was from Ireland and another guy was from Australia. So they'd say, oh, well, entonces el guapo. That was I'm sorry, he's no longer with us. He's gone back.
Wait, then you're going to do something with your mic.
Is it my mic? Is it me fidgeting?
Okay, that way, yeah.
Better.
Makeup. No, it's okay?
Yeah.
Is my hair alright?
Okay, thank
Fabulous. Okay. So yeah, we're going to be talking about visible learning, the effectiveness of learning in invisible environments. This is me then, TDU consultant. I work in the Teachers Development Unit, which means I'm not here to sell you anything, don't worry. Put your wallets away, Filipino voluntario. I work with teachers, and so I work with teachers all around the region. So ideally, I want to share some ideas with you. I'll share ideas with you that have come from Bogota, from Barranquilla, from Barranca. Obviously all the good ideas are mine, but the other ideas have come from teachers like you who work in different environments, and so hopefully we can share some of those successes. And of course, if you have ideas, don't be shy. Feel free to share. That's a fair statement. I'm going to start with a couple of short questions, just a couple of quizzes, if you like. It's a quiz with 3 questions. It's nothing complicated. Simple question then. Name 3 consecutive days without using the words Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Very good. Yes? You agree? Did you hear that over there? Fabulous. That wasn't too complicated, was it? Right, good. Because I thought we'd start off nice and simple. Another question for you then. Can you air write the number 6? For those of you who are not sure, I'll give you some sections. That's the number 6. Okay. There you go. Bilingualism, everybody. Yeah. Number 6. So show me your big number 6. Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, now I need you all to stand up and face to your right. That's the other right. Yeah. Okay. Those of you who can, lean against the chair or hold the side of the chair. Because I need you now to raise your right foot. Yes? Yeah. Right foot, we get there eventually. And can you draw for me a circle going clockwise? Yeah? How's that? Still a bit stiff after last night, right? Okay, hold that position. There you go. Circles. Now, can you draw for me this air 6? Oh, what happened? Can anyone do it? Yeah? It's not easy, is it? Try this. Try this. You're all going. I was sneaky. I gave you the direction that we were going clockwise. Try going clockwise and draw it upside down sleeves. Now do it. That's easier, isn't it? Okay, take a seat. Don't want to wear you out just yet. Because I've got one more question for you, and this one is going to tax that other muscle that we have somewhere between our ears. Sorry, it's me again. A third question then. Choose 3 different sets of 3 letters to add to each of the following clues. The same 3 letters must be added to the beginning and the end in order to make real words. There's nothing like exam questions for confusing your students. Let's try this. Here's an example. This is your clue. You need to add the same 3 letters to the beginning as the end to make it work. That was easy, wasn't it? Alright, smart Alex. Let's see how you get on with these ones. What? I'm sorry? Go on. The same 3 letters at the beginning as at the end. Go on. Very well done. You're 40% of the way there. Okay, do you need a clue? 5,000 pesos for the first clue. They get progressively more expensive. It's a discomfort you might feel in the nails of your toes if you have very, very tight shoes. Ooh. Really? Ingrown? Ingrowing? Yes. Ingrowing. Go on. Can you hear that over here? You can't. Again, really loud. Yeah, he said antioxidant. Now this is a tough one. Rocco's. I seem to be having a lot of trouble with my mic. My mic is causing me trouble. Go on. That's it, put it together. Microcosmic. Microscopic? No. Microcosmic. Yeah, cosmic. Well done, well done. Microcosmic. Okay, of these 2 questions that I've just asked you, what were the relevance? What was the relevance of the first one? How useful was that as a piece of learning? What did you get out of it? Anything? From the first question about days. You were thinking outside the box, yeah. But is that a question maybe you'd ever be faced with in reality? And if you were, would you ever be faced with it more than once?
You can get to class without having students warmed up about the topic that you're going to cover. It's like something out of the blues. And you come to the classroom and think about 3 words that you don't know using the days. So it's just teaching what's going on.
Yeah, okay, yeah. You're starting to ask questions, aren't you? You're starting to wonder what on earth is coming. Okay. What about the second set of questions, with the 6, where we were playing physically and struggling physically? I think was maybe more key. Any use in that at all? Would you ever need to do that in real life? Hopefully not. No. Unless you're in one of Pearson's training sessions. Yeah. What about the third one then? Would the third one be at all useful?
Well, maybe about but maybe that can work for students that are in a very advanced schools. Because I remember that when I was in my English course, I was taught this, but well, because the purpose of was the candidate approach. But I mean, it's just like for expanding your vocabulary in the target language.
Yeah, in fact, these aren't full words, are they? So these couldn't be counted as fixes and prefixes. So I can see where you're going with it, but again, it's questionable. There's a theme, certainly there's a theme emerging in the latter of those words. It may have something sciencey to do. What I want you to think about then is where's the pedagogy? What's the reason for learning? Yes? In order for our invisible classrooms to create visible learning, we need to offer learning that is essential, learning that is useful, learning that is necessary, learning that has some relativity in life and in the lives of our students. None of these questions really provided you with any new knowledge. They're fun, they're enjoyable. But what we want to think about then in terms of how to create successful environments is what is it we're trying to teach. And between you and me, we as teachers very rarely teach anything at all. If we're honest with ourselves, and I know that's difficult, but if we're honest with ourselves, we rarely actually teach anything. Teaching somebody something new would suggest that they know nothing originally. I want you to think then, if we can, before we go into the whole diversity of what's online, I want you to think of this box as the brain of one of our students. I know it's not hard, it's an empty box. It's not that far from the truth. Imagine this brain of our students then as being a storage unit. And every piece of information we give them, they put into this storage unit. The information that we give them, they're going to put, like they do in traditional classrooms, on a nice white piece of paper, like this. They come to their classes and they receive information, they put that information in their history class onto this piece of paper. That piece of paper goes into the brain. Yeah, then they go to science class. There's more information, that information goes into the brain. They go to geography class, maths class. They have lunch. What they had for lunch goes into the brain. These are all memories. These sheets of paper all count as memories. That was my PE class. That was the argument I had via Twitter with my girlfriend. Then something else happened. All this information goes into the brain. Now, when it comes to exam time, we expect our students to access this information, don't we? Now, if you imagine your brain is somewhere above your eyes, probably slightly behind, for you to access that brain, you need to be able to look in the box without your eyes. Therefore, you need to use your hand. So we put our hands into our brain and we look for this information, and funnily enough, all I can find is paper. I need to therefore extract all of it to start going through it and find the information about science. Was this the page on science? No, I don't think it was that. It was geography, wasn't it? Yeah. Was this the science? No, that was maths. Maybe this, do you see, it's taken me an awfully long time to recollect this information that I was looking for, which is why in language classes we want to, instead of create blank pieces of paper, simple memories, we want to create multi-sensory memories, memories that are easier to access, memories which are, if you like, without looking, more like a packet of, risadas. Yeah? Because a packet of risadas is very different to a sheet of paper. A packet of risadas sounds different. A packet of risadas looks different. We open a packet of risadas, it smells different. And I'm sure if somebody in the audience would like to taste it, I know you're eating gum, so it probably doesn't look too good. Would you like this? Do you want to just pass them around, please? Yeah, no, pass them around. There's breakfast time. Yeah? Breakfast on piss. No, pass them around. I'm not a waiter. Yeah, I'm busy. I'm busy. Yeah? The information then that we're looking for is so much easier to find because we're using all the senses. Now, according to Judy Willis, she suggests that if we can create different sensory perceptions of information, we create more connections within the brain, and therefore to reactivate that information is much easier, it's much faster. Put this into real terms. When your students give you the excuse that they can't come to class on Thursday, do you see what they're doing? They're giving you that excuse, but they have to find that information Thursday, and that word Thursday comes after the word Wednesday, which is followed, or preceded rather, by Tuesday, and preceded then again by Monday. That is to say, the word Thursday is not a singular memory. It's attached, it's grouped, just like numbers, just like months of the year, just like the letters of the alphabet. How many of you, if you're honest, can tell me which is the 17th letter of the alphabet without starting at A? We're not even sure now. Is it O or R? Or is it Q? It's Q, isn't it? Right, but to access that information, we had to filter it. Filter out all the fluff on the left and on the right. Because the information alone wasn't obvious to me. Because that information, when you learned it, just like when you learn the departamentos of Colombia. How many departamentos are there, by the way? Are you sure? Yeah, I love this answer. En mi época. Yeah, well, I learned it. Yeah, in 5th grade, it might have been 30, it might have been 28. It depends when. It depends if you want to admit to how old you are. But certainly nowadays, we'll call it 32. I wonder how much more information you know about these departamentos. When you're recalling the names of departments of Colombia, how do you work it? Alphabetically? By regions? Some of you maybe take a trip. Yeah, I start in here. Yeah, we're all working with mind maps, aren't we? Some of us are working around in spirals. Yeah. You may work alphabetically. Okay, there are. Can you name perhaps, let's say, six of the 8 departamentos of Colombia that begin with C? Well, that wasn't that hard, was it? I didn't say all 8. No, but we think about how we store information, we group it. Then we put it together. Now, this is why, particularly in young learners, songs are so useful. Because when you think about songs related to the days of the week, you can actually create memories related to each of those days. So what do you actually do on a Thursday? On Thursday, we play football. On Thursday, we go to Crepes and Waffles for ice cream. On Thursday is when I have maths homework. On Thursday. And we're creating more vivid memories. Memories more vivid, memories become easier to recall. Yeah? Easier to find in this big, empty cardboard box of ours. Okay. I've lost my... There it is. See, memories. Terrible memories. Okay. Let's move on then. Okay, let's move on. So we think about, in terms of pedagogy, in terms of what's relevant, what we need to learn. What do we mean then by e-pedagogy? What is your understanding of e-pedagogy? Okay. Blended learning. Okay, go on. E-learning. Mm-hmm.
It's two-dimensional.
It's two-dimensional. Barbara, no, everybody. Go ahead. You get your plenary done now.
Well, it's one step removed from the multi-sensory. It lessens the multi-sensory experience to visual, auditory, reading, but certainly not kinesthetic or tactile.
Yes, and potentially no. Yes, absolutely. I agree completely. Couldn't agree more. Because this idea that our students are at a distance. But then this is part of our challenge, isn't it? To create a visible learning, but without a classroom. How do we replace that experience, that interaction, if my students aren't under my nose? If, as we've heard in several presentations, I've heard in several presentations yesterday, that as long as the teacher's absent, students don't know what to do. Unless the teacher's teaching students how to learn, they don't know how to learn of their own accord. So what do we need to do to make e-pedagogy happen? To make learning take place? How can we replace that? Let's think, first of all then, in terms of our learner profiles. Who are our learners? Hello, what's your name? Oh, again? Alex Garcia. Okay, Alex Garcia. Alex Garcia, who's sitting on your immediate right? That we'll find out.
My name is Devis.
Okay, let's go with Edward. Edward and Alex. Yes? Did anyone notice how many questions I asked Alex? 2? How 2? Okay, what was that second question that you heard? No, before that. Who's sitting on your immediate right? That was my question, wasn't it? Who's sitting on your immediate right? Notice there were 2 simultaneous questions. There was an audible question, and there was a visual question. Some of the ladies behind you were going... If he asks you what school you come from, don't tell him. Okay. There were 2 questions. I was testing my student. I need to know, to create a learner profile, I need to know who my student is. And I know now that Alex is more of an auditory learner than a visual learner, because she ignored the visual clue. Whilst other people behind you were going, no, 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 no. Because they were watching my question, perhaps not listening to it. Yeah? We start to establish then that our learners are not all the same. Yeah? We love, as teachers, as educators, we love to generalize about our students and say that they are all lazy. Yeah? And say that they are all experts in technology. And say that they are all useless at using technology in a learning environment. Yeah? But in actual fact, we've just found from just 2 people here that we have 2 very different, potentially very different learning styles. Now, Edward didn't correct you, so I'm guessing he was also going with the vision. But I know I've got other learners here who were watching what you were doing. Right? So we're starting to build up a learner profile. To know who our learners are means we can better approach the needs. Something else we'll talk about, obviously, is the autonomy of learners and their effectiveness to learn what they need to learn. To do that, they need to know what they don't know. This starts to get a little bit confusing. But this is where we start to think about how we're going to offer activities for them to potentially replace that contact that they would otherwise have in class. So in terms of pedagogy, I'm going to do it again, I promise. We're going to think about pedagogical models. For example, project-based learning. Now, project-based learning is a great way to ensure that our students have an objective beyond complete the exercises, beyond filling the gaps, beyond duplicate what you already know. We want our students to apply what they know. And if we think, and we've heard again, I've heard certainly yesterday, reference made to web quests. I was also told in no uncertain terms that web quests went out of fashion in 2008. Is that right? Yes, I did listen. Well, do any of you use web quests? No? Sometimes. I think there's a degree of understanding needed of what a web quest is. Go on. For learning, not for teaching. For learning German. Okay. Okay, it's worked for you and for other people too. Well, yeah, because whilst we say web quests have gone out of fashion, web quests, I think, just like web has become Web 2.0, the tools have progressed. Web quests have also progressed. The focus of a web quest has progressed. We need to think then about the result of a web quest. Traditionally, we thought about a web quest as go to the website of the Miami Zoo and tell me what time they open. Now, for a really tricky question, find out how much cheaper it is if you are a senior citizen than a student, if it is indeed cheaper. But there was very little application of knowledge, very little use of that knowledge. So I think in terms of, we're sort of blending these two ideas of projects and web quests, where web quests are becoming projects. I'd like to, if I could, if you bear with me, I'd like to share a video with you on what web quests are. And this is given to you for the visual learners. Alex, still with me? Okay. So we're going to watch a video now, so the visual learners can catch this. Any of you auditory learners, that's fine. If you have questions, we'll ask them later. Would you mind?
You remember what it was like in school. It was boring. You sat in class, memorized as much as you could, and tried to pass a test at the end. But is that good enough? These days, school can be more interesting and effective by focusing students on work that matters. This is Project-Based Learning Explained. Most adults live in a world of projects. Whether it's a job assignment, home improvement, or planning a wedding, we need to actively solve problems. But unfortunately, schoolwork looks more like this than this. Let's take a look at this project-based world. Meet Claire. She was recently presented with a challenge. Her company, Super Suds, makes soap, and it was up to her to find the most earth-friendly way to produce it in the future. Her boss gave her a budget and a few requirements, and it was up to her to come up with a solution. She organized and managed a team who researched the options and created materials summarizing the issues. Claire's team asked for feedback and presented their findings to the boss. Claire came out of the project looking like a rock star, and she learned a lot about green products. If you look closely, Claire's success involved critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. Things that aren't often taught in traditional classrooms. The world needs more Claires, so how do we get them? The answer is project-based learning, or PBL. By focusing students on a project, teachers put them on a path that deepens their knowledge and builds skills they'll need in the future. Here's what I mean. Mr. Simmons has always been a good science teacher, and his students do well on Friday's tests. Unfortunately, what they learned was gone by Saturday morning. That wasn't good enough for him. Soon he learned about project-based learning and decided to give it a shot. Mr. Simmons got the idea for his first project on microorganisms when nearly half of his students were suddenly absent with the flu. He asked his students why they thought so many of their classmates got sick at the same time. That lively discussion produced a lot of good questions and a list of things the kids wanted to know. Mr. Simmons then announced their project was to help elementary school kids understand how can we not get sick. After dividing the class into teams, he got them started on the project. It was up to the students to ask questions, research, collaborate, give each other feedback, and figure out the best ways to make their points clear to children. One team chose to make an educational video on the connection between hand washing and avoiding the flu. Another chose to create posters to show how viruses spread. The project teams showed off their final work to an enthusiastic audience of parents and their children at a nearby elementary school. Sitting in the front row was our good friend and local rock star Claire, who saw a bit of herself in the students. It was clear that the project was a success for the students, the audience, and Mr. Simmons. His students practiced critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. The project wasn't about memorization. but learning in depth about viruses and how to prevent spreading disease, a lesson they will never forget. At the end of the presentation, Claire introduced herself to the students and told them that they were rock stars and that the world needs more people who can think like them. To learn more about project-based learning, go to BIE.org.
Okay, you're all rock stars. Thanks for watching. And I apologise if any of you have seen that before, but I just think it's an amusing way of sharing a concept and simplifying it, making it slightly easier to deal with. Obviously, there are lots of animations available on YouTube. I've been a big fan for a long time of using YouTube to work with my students, particularly my visual students. But also, it's a way of creating more vivid memories. More vivid than perhaps lo que me dijo mi profesor. Because lo que me dijo mi profesor is something that my teacher says all the time. My teacher says an awful lot on a daily basis. But if we can break down the monotony in class of this kind of constant drone that comes from our teachers, then obviously we can do the same at home. If students are working at home and they're offered substantial, valuable resources to watch, to interact with, to potentially generate for themselves, then they're more likely to build memories that are that have longevity, that will stay around, that will be useful in the future. We also want to consider then integrating collaboration into e-learning. This may be done, for example, through discussion boards, or perhaps integrating pedagogically rich activities with audio-visual media. I want to take a look then at a simple project, because when we think about projects we often get carried away or confused or make assumptions that projects are going to be huge and sizable chunks of the curriculum time or the time allotted. They don't have to be mammoth tasks. A site I want to take you to now, I recently discovered on a place called, I've got it recorded because I knew I'd forget this name. Edudemic. Any of you know edudemic.com? No? Fabulous. Excellent. Score. Edudemic.com is basically, it categorises tools, Web 2.0 tools, that can be used in and outside the classroom, according to ratings from teachers, people who actually use them. So of course we find the common factors: Twitter, Facebook, eBlogger, Glogster, ones we've all known for many years, ones we've potentially all used, but it also exposes us to more of what other teachers are using. And it's a nice way of sharing educative material, educative tools. This site I went to was called Extra Normal. It's not a name you'd necessarily come up with on your own. Extra Normal looks like this. It's basically a way of making animation. And I've used this with elementary students. Elementary students who are potentially too nervous to stand at the front of the class and talk about themselves. Or talk about, as we used to do many years ago, our favourite song. Or more recently, we would talk about our favourite website. Or even more currently, to have your students stand up in front of the group and talk about their favourite iPhone app. Or BlackBerry app. Yeah, and why they like it, where they got it from, who they heard about it from, what they do with it. Yeah, I was only yesterday asked by another teacher how she would get to the 74 from here, and I said, of course, let me just check my iTrans Millennium. It's not a joke, there is an app called iTrans Millennium. Do any of you have the iTrans Millennium? Yes? Yeah. Problem solved. Definitely. Apps that are actually really applicable in real life. Now this one, it took me literally 3 minutes to make a 16-second video. I didn't have to do any of the speaking for myself. It turned the text to voice. Apologies, I wanted to get a joke in 16 seconds. It wasn't very easy, and as I'm British, our humour tends to be a little bit Benny Hill. We still haven't quite got over it. So, enjoy.
Going on at the Colombo Symposium.
Yeah, I did say it was only a 16-second. He did actually start there by saying hello to the Colombo Symposium. In fact, he said, "Hey y'all, hey y'all." Can we get a bit more volume on that? I'll show that again. Yeah.
Hello and all at the Colombo Symposium.
Okay, but a very simple activity, a project which students can use to introduce themselves to each other, to perhaps talk about current activities, to talk about anything. As I say, it's text to voice, but it's also, you can record your own voice, where students feel a bit more confident, or if they feel confident at the off, by all means, record your own voice and throw it in. So meaningful e-learning needs to be active. It needs to be constructive. It needs to be intentional. At the same time as being authentic and collaborative. We're going to look at one more example then. A huge favourite of mine. When we think about the types of projects we're creating, what other projects could we be producing? They don't have to be always short films. What kind of projects do you produce when working in project sense? You create forums, you create magazines. Uh-huh.
Small college for doctor's office, like collaborators, I'm mostly for situations like getting a job.
And they come up with the role plays, or you offer them the...
They have to.
They come up. Okay, well, some other ideas that I considered, but perhaps for the application of this information that they're finding online, perhaps putting together their own PowerPoint, or today, Keynote, or whatnot. Creating a text, creating a poster, preparing for a debate, or perhaps just blogging about the matter. Some of the sites I've used in the past, some of the particular favourites of mine,